You are not lazy. Your brain is protecting you from something it thinks is uncomfortable, and that changes everything about how you should approach studying. Your brain is wired for survival, not success. And studying feels like effort, uncertainty, and delayed reward, which your brain naturally tries to avoid. Every time you open your phone, your brain gets instant dopamine, fast pleasure, zero effort, and that creates a powerful addiction loop. Studying, on the other hand, gives delayed results, no immediate excitement, and requires focus, which your brain sees as unnecessary energy loss. So when you choose scrolling over studying, it is not weakness. It is your brain choosing the easiest reward path available. The real problem is not discipline. It is the imbalance between instant rewards and delayed rewards in your daily environment. Your brain constantly compares options, and it will always pick what feels good now instead of what benefits you later. That is why even thinking about studying feels heavy, because your brain predicts effort without immediate payoff. This is called the dopamine gap, where low stimulation tasks like studying cannot compete with high stimulation habits like social media. And the bigger this gap becomes, the harder it feels to even start. Not because you cannot, but because your brain resists it. But here is the shift most people never understand. Motivation does not come before action. It comes after you begin. When you take even a small step, your brain starts adjusting and resistance slowly turns into momentum. This is why starting is the hardest part, because you are fighting your brain's default programming. Once you begin, your brain realizes the task is not a threat, and it reduces the resistance you were feeling before. That is why successful people do not wait to feel ready. They train their brain to move before emotions catch up. You can actually rewire your brain by making studying feel easier to start, not harder to sustain. Instead of thinking about studying for hours, focus on just opening your book and reading one small section. This reduces the perceived effort and tricks your brain into allowing the action to happen. Once you start, something powerful happens. Your brain releases a small amount of dopamine for progress. That small reward begins to replace the need for instant gratification from distractions. Over time, your brain starts associating studying with progress instead of pain. This is how you shift from survival mode to growth mode without forcing yourself or burning out. Your environment also matters more than your willpower because your brain reacts to what is easily available. If distractions are one tap away, your brain will always choose them over effort-based tasks. But if you reduce those distractions, even slightly, you make studying the easier choice for your brain. This is not about becoming perfect, it is about understanding how your brain works and using it to your advantage. When you stop blaming yourself and start adjusting the system around you, everything begins to change. You are not broken. You are just following patterns your brain learned without you realizing it. And the moment you take control of those patterns, you stop fighting yourself and start moving forward naturally. Just 5 minutes. That's all I want from you right now. No pressure, no big promises, just 5 small minutes. Open your book. Don't think about finishing the chapter. Don't think about exams. Just start reading the first line slowly. Your brain will immediately resist. It will tell you this is boring, this is hard, this is not the right time. That's normal. That resistance you feel is not laziness. It's something called psychological inertia. Your brain hates starting difficult tasks. But here's the truth most people never realize. Starting is the hardest part, not continuing. The moment you begin, even for 5 minutes, something inside your brain quietly shifts. Your focus slowly wakes up. Your mind becomes a little clearer, and the task doesn't feel as heavy anymore. This is because action creates motivation, not the other way around like most people believe. You don't wait to feel motivated, you move first, and motivation follows your movement. Think about it. How many times did you avoid studying all day, but once you finally started, you kept going longer than planned? That's the 5-minute rule working silently in your favor. When you tell yourself, I will study for hours, your brain panics and shuts down instantly. But when you say just 5 minutes, your brain relaxes. It feels safe. It allows you to begin. And beginning is everything. Because motion breaks resistance. Once you are in motion, stopping actually feels harder than continuing. Your brain starts building momentum, like pushing a heavy object that becomes easier once it moves. 5 minutes turn into 10, 10 turn into 30, and suddenly you are deep into your work without forcing yourself. You didn't become more disciplined in that moment, you just removed the pressure of starting. This is how high performers operate. They don't rely on feelings, they rely on simple systems. They lower the barrier so much that starting becomes almost effortless. And once they start, they trust momentum to carry them forward. You can do the same, without changing your entire life overnight. Right now, forget about being perfect. Forget about studying for long hours. Just commit to showing up for 5 minutes, even on your worst days, even when you feel tired, even when your mind feels empty. 5 minutes is always possible. And those small starts will slowly rebuild your confidence. Because every time you start, you prove to yourself that you are capable of taking action. And that identity shift is powerful. It changes how you see yourself completely. You stop seeing yourself as someone who procrastinates and start seeing yourself as someone who begins. That one change can transform everything in your life over time. So don't wait for the perfect mood. Don't wait for motivation to magically appear. Open your book right now, set a timer for 5 minutes, and begin. No overthinking, no pressure, just action. Because the moment you start, you've already won the hardest battle. Motivation is a scam, and you've been falling for it every single day without even realizing what it's costing you. Every time you say, "I'll start when I feel motivated," you are silently training your brain to delay your own future. Motivation feels powerful, but it's actually unreliable, unpredictable, and completely outside your control most of the time. Some days you feel unstoppable, and other days you feel empty, and that emotional swing is exactly what keeps you stuck. If your progress depends on how you feel, then your life will always move at the speed of your worst days. Successful people are not more motivated than you. They are just less dependent on motivation to take action. They don't wake up inspired every day, they wake up committed, and that one difference changes everything. Discipline is not about being strict or harsh, it's about doing what needs to be done even when your feelings disagree. Right now, your brain is addicted to comfort, to easy dopamine, to things that feel good instantly and require zero effort. And studying feels slow, uncomfortable, and mentally demanding, so your brain keeps pushing it away again and again. But here's the truth most people never accept. Action creates motivation, not the other way around. You don't wait to feel ready, you start, and then your brain slowly catches up with your decision. The first 5 minutes are always the hardest because that's where resistance is at its strongest. But once you begin, something shifts. Your focus increases, your energy builds, and continuing becomes easier than stopping. This is why waiting is dangerous, because every delay strengthens the habit of avoiding what actually matters, and over time, avoidance becomes your identity, and you start believing that you are just not disciplined enough. But that belief is false, because identity is not something you are born with. It is something you build through repeated actions. Every time you sit down and study, even for a few minutes, you are casting a vote for the person you want to become. Not perfect, not extreme, just consistent enough to prove to yourself that you can show up no matter what you feel. The goal is not to feel motivated. The goal is to become the kind of person who acts even without motivation. Because once your identity changes, your behavior follows naturally and everything starts to feel less forced. You stop negotiating with yourself, you stop overthinking, and you simply do what needs to be done. This is the system successful people use, not hype, not inspiration, but small actions repeated daily without excuses. They remove decisions, reduce distractions, and make starting so easy that resistance doesn't stand a chance. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need perfect timing. You just need to begin before your mind talks you out of it. Right now, your future is being shaped by what you do in moments when you don't feel like doing anything at all. That is the real test. Not when it's easy, but when it's uncomfortable, boring, and mentally heavy. Because those moments are where discipline is built, where identity is formed, and where your life actually changes direction. So stop waiting for motivation to save you, because it never will, and it was never supposed to. Start small, start now, and prove to yourself that you are in control, not your mood, not your excuses, but you. One day without your phone sounds impossible, but this single decision can instantly double your ability to focus and study deeply. Right now, your brain is overloaded with constant dopamine hits from scrolling, notifications, and endless short videos that train you to avoid effort. Studying feels boring not because it is hard, but because your brain is addicted to fast and easy stimulation every few seconds. The moment you remove your phone, something uncomfortable happens. Silence appears, and your mind starts craving distraction like withdrawal. That uncomfortable feeling is not weakness. It is your brain resetting its dopamine baseline back to normal levels. Most people quit at this stage because they think something is wrong, but this is exactly where focus begins to rebuild. When you stay in that discomfort without escaping, your brain slowly relearns how to enjoy slower and deeper activities like studying. After a few hours without stimulation, even opening a book starts to feel more interesting than staring at a blank screen. This is called dopamine reset, where your brain becomes sensitive again to simple and meaningful tasks. Suddenly, your attention span increases, and you can sit longer without feeling the urge to check your phone every minute. But here is the mistake people make. They try extreme detox and fail within a day because it feels too restrictive and unrealistic. The real strategy is not to remove everything, but to control when and how you allow dopamine into your day. Start by creating a study block where your phone is completely out of reach, not just silent, but physically away from you. Even seeing your phone reduces your focus, so removing it from your environment is the first powerful shift. Next, set a timer for just 30 minutes of deep work, no distractions, no switching, just one task with full attention. In the beginning, it will feel slow and heavy, but this is your brain building focus muscles that have been ignored for too long. Once the timer ends, you can reward yourself with a short, controlled break. Not endless scrolling, but something intentional. This balance keeps your brain motivated without falling back into addiction cycles. Over time, your need for constant stimulation decreases, and your ability to concentrate becomes stronger than ever. You will notice that tasks you once avoided now feel easier to start and easier to continue without resistance. The goal is not to eliminate pleasure, but to stop cheap dopamine from controlling your decisions and stealing your time. When you take back control, studying stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like progress. Even one day of doing this correctly can show you a completely different version of yourself. A version that is calm, focused, and capable of doing deep work without constantly escaping. And once you experience that version, going back to distraction feels like wasting your own potential. This is why a simple phone break is not just a habit change, it is a complete shift in how your brain works. You are not lazy, you were just overstimulated and never given the chance to focus properly. Give your brain that chance even for a single day and watch how quickly things begin to change. Small controlled actions like this create massive long-term results that most people never experience. Start today, remove the noise, and let your mind prove how powerful it actually is. When you don't feel like studying, then how can you study? Right now, it feels heavy, like your mind is tired before you even begin, and even opening a book feels overwhelming. This is not laziness, this is emotional burnout, and most people never realize the difference, so they keep blaming themselves every day. Burnout is when your brain is overloaded, your energy is drained, and even simple tasks feel like climbing a mountain without strength. Laziness says, I don't want to, but burnout whispers, I can't. And that small difference changes everything about how you should respond. If you treat burnout like laziness, you punish yourself, and that only makes your mind resist even more, creating a painful cycle. So, instead of forcing motivation, you need a softer approach, one that works with your mind, not against it. Start by lowering the pressure because your brain fears big tasks but accepts small, harmless beginnings without resistance. Tell yourself you will study for just 5 minutes. Not perfectly, not intensely, just gently starting without expectations or pressure. When you remove pressure, your brain relaxes, and that is when real focus slowly begins to return naturally without forcing it. Next, create a calm environment because your surroundings directly affect your mental energy more than you realize. A clean desk, soft light, and no distractions can quietly signal your brain that it is safe to focus again. Now focus on progress, not performance, because trying to be perfect when you are exhausted will only push you further away. Even reading one page or understanding one concept is a win when your energy is low, and that win matters more than you think. Your brain builds momentum through small successes, not through pressure. And this momentum slowly brings your energy back. Stop waiting to feel ready, because readiness is not a requirement. Action is what creates readiness over time. You don't need to feel motivated, you just need to begin, even if your mind feels quiet, slow, or completely empty. Accept that some days will feel harder than others, and that does not mean you are failing, it means you are human. Speak to yourself with patience, because the way you talk to yourself shapes how your mind responds to effort. Replace harsh thoughts with calm ones, because kindness reduces resistance and makes it easier to take the next step. Take short breaks without guilt, because recovery is part of productivity, not the enemy of it. Drink water, breathe slowly, and give your brain a moment to reset when it feels overloaded or distracted. Then come back gently, not aggressively, because consistency grows through softness, not through force. Remember, you are not behind, you are recovering, and recovery always comes before real growth and progress. Every small step you take right now is rebuilding your focus, even if it feels invisible in the moment. Trust the process, because your brain is adapting quietly, even when you cannot see immediate results. One gentle start today can break days of resistance, and that is how real change actually begins. You don't need a perfect day, you just need a small, honest effort, and that is always enough to move forward. Start now, slowly, calmly, and prove to yourself that even on your hardest days, you can still take one step ahead.